Hey there, extraordinary educators. Welcome back to On Secondary Thought, the home of purposefully imperfect teaching, where we discuss all things middle and high school. If you've been visiting our channel on a regular basis, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, where you been? I just wanted to stop by today to give you some tips on teaching virtually. I've been in my virtual classroom for about 2 weeks now, and there's some things that I've learned that I think you can benefit from. Tip number 1, your plan A is to have a plan B. You need to think about, what if the technology doesn't work? What if students can't access the documents that they need to access? Always have a plan B. Tip number 2 is be flexible. Everything is not going to go your way. The structure and control you had in the classroom, you're going to have to forget about that, and you're just going to have to go with the flow. So tip number 2 is to be flexible. Tip number 3, have your Google Classroom loaded with everything you'll need. So, for instance, here's an assignment that I've given to students on Romeo and Juliet. It's a writing task, so I make sure I have my Venn diagram, I have any videos that students will need to access, I have any text that students need to access, I also have my Jamboard where we've been collecting evidence, and my lesson for the day. In addition, I've already created a rubric. This is helpful for students as well as teachers, because as a teacher, you can just simply open your Google Classroom and you have everything at your fingertips. No need for 20 tabs. You can just go right to the document. And I always schedule my assignments to be released shortly before class begins. Tip number 4, decide ahead of time how your students will respond. I've noticed that when I ask questions, there is some silence that would typically happen in the classroom, but it seems like a deadly silence when you're teaching virtually. So decide how your students are going to respond. Are you going to use the wheel of names to select them? Do you want them to type in the chat? Do you want them to simply speak into the microphone? Or do you want them to fill out a Google form? My 5th tip is use extensions to do your grunt work. So instead of taking attendance aloud, use an extension like Google Meet Attendance. And what happens with this particular extension is when you're in your classroom, as students come in and enter, the attendance is taken by the program. My final tip, and I think it's my most important tip for today, is to use your students as a resource. The more you have them do, the more they'll learn. And you'd be surprised at how this virtual world makes them feel empowered. So there you have my tips for virtual teaching success, Business Edition. Stay tuned for the next video where we'll discuss some more personal tips for having virtual teaching success. Thank you for stopping by on Secondary Thought. See you next time.